Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm excited to be with you here today. This is going to be a wild one because it's an unplanned, unexpected podcast inspiration. I don't even fully know if I'm going to air this. Obviously, if you're listening to it, I chose to, but I do try and keep what's going on in my world as in alignment with what I'm talking about on the podcast, just so all things are happening in real time and you are in this process with me as authentically and in real time as possible. And I found out some crazy news today. If you know me well, I don't talk a ton about relationships or guys that I'm dating or any of it. I keep it off my social media. I that's like the one thing I don't really have in the spotlight, maybe a few things, but I keep it separate. However, I think this needs to be talked about today. So we are going to lean in and talk about it. Before we do, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Colorado Clownfish Swim School, swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So go waterproof your family today. Check them out, coloradoclownfish.com. And my favorites, Plantiva. I do not leave home without these all natural supplements, but they are products you can trust, delivering results you can feel. They are magic. And like I said, I don't live life without these things. So go check them out at plantiva.com. Without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little story on some happenings. Obviously, we will leave all names and specifics out of this. I want to talk about this, not for revenge or just trauma sharing or trauma dumping or anything like that. It's more that if you're a good person and you're out there and you're genuinely trying to do the right thing, it's wild how the wrong things can still happen. And I believe in energy and karma and things. So there's always a lesson in everything. And it still blows my mind that at this age, like things that I've avoided for most of my life are showing up in, my mid 40s, and it's lessons I still need to learn. So on that note, I will just say, this is about awareness and grace. And for all of my people out there, like I said, trying to do the right things, trying to, be a person of contribution in our society or give to their community and those around you, and still like stuff like this happens, this podcast is for you and for me. And let me be very clear. I am very far from perfect. I am wildly flawed. There are many things I want to improve on as a human and things that I want to continue to level up on as I continue to grow up and get wiser, and probably in relationships, because professionally, athletically, like I am good. That's what I do for a living. Strategic partnerships in a nutshell, sponsorships, the whole nine. Just personally, I've not held a lot of space in that in my life. So I would be the first to admit I'm likely mildly experienced, lacking experience in relationships just because I haven't leaned a lot in personally. That being said, I feel like I am good with my humans, and I know on this one, though, I think regardless of how experienced or how much intel you have, sometimes you just fall for the best things and you go all in. And I do want to be clear, this is not about providing fear or telling you to hesitate on things, because just like sports and athletics and all the things I preach, where you've got to lean in and you've got to go full open heart. And if you fail, you lose the game. If you're in the arena and you get whooped up, that's part of it. And you gotta give 100 to get 100 back. So you have to take that risk. So I have no regrets in this, and I'm not sharing this tale so you don't put your heart out there and go all in. It's purely just to give yourself some grace. If you found yourself in this situation, I just want you to know that you're not alone. So the quick story is, about a year ago, almost like to the month, I started dating a guy, and we'll leave, like I said, many details out, and became friends first. Was not a fast moving thing. And our first date, I don't know what it was. If you've experienced this, in relationships, I've really liked guys off the bat, or, it's something that's kind of grown over time. This one was like instantaneous, and it was the fireworks. It was stuff that I didn't actually think was real, but something about that first night, sparks flew. And it was just a date, some drinks, nothing big. Ended, drove home alone, the whole thing. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure what it was. Nothing special happened. It was just like an immediate connection. And then over time, we did have kind of daily exposure and like exposure just for certain reasons, and like our lives kind of like cross paths organically. And so like that's kind of how the friendship built. But there was enough for me to see like get an idea on who this is. And this is kind of why I don't love dating apps, because you truly never know who you're dating or where they're coming from. This was a situation where I did have some intel, not a ton, but a little bit. And we had cross paths, in some capacity over time. And as we started dating, there was definitely some immediate red flags and some things had come up, but I just felt so strongly. So I had this internal conflict of, if this is kind of weird and I am seeing red flags, like, do I stay in it? Do I let things happen? Like, we're both grown. Of course, everybody brings some sort of trauma and baggage to the table. What do I do about it? So I kind of went on this deep dive of like, God, I really care, but there's just some inconsistencies and what felt at the time like lies, but I wasn't sure. So I went on this whole deep dive of like, okay, if this is the guy, I had this weird intuition when we first started dating that like, this is the guy. And I almost had an argument with myself, like, really, like this dude's really not my type. And certain things didn't check the box. And so I kind of just went with it. And before I knew it, like I really cared. And it never really developed to like a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a serious level, but I had serious feelings and I had really cared more than I really realized, even though I knew there was really intense inconsistencies and these red flags were there. So I started going to like intuitive, which I kind of do anyways, and just seeking answers and a deep dive on attachment and like, am I anxiously attached? Are these things I've never experienced before that I didn't even know that I had? And it turns out I did. And I argue this, like I haven't done formal talk therapy in a while. And that's not really something that speaks to me. I'm here for all the therapy things. But for me personally, my personality, that's not usually my vibe. But we don't know a lot about this stuff until you're in it. And I do think that certain relationships can bring different sides out of you, or even induce things that aren't necessarily there on the regular, but with certain kinds of people, they can make you that way. Like all things are within. But this was a side of me I had never really met before. So I went on this deep dive of attachments and anxiously attached, avoidant attachment, and oh gosh, I went on a big thing of like dating a narcissist, which I want to talk about as well. We're going to give some tips on that. Just easy chat GPT, like what is a narcissist and what do you do when you're dating one? Because I think if you have not experienced that, you definitely will. And I want my young people to know this because relationships are so impactful and things do come through so fast. I think you can find yourself in situations without even knowing how it got there. And that can happen personally, professionally, athletically, in friendships. Like the pullback and the awareness of what's really going on is so critical in all things in life. This is one that I just like really slipped up on. So long and short, we things, end. It wasn't even like really physical at this point. It was just like I saw red flags, and this human had the audacity to kind of come at my character and say, certain things like I knew a lot of people and said a lot of things or whatever the story was. And I got really upset about that. And that was just kind of the end of it. And it circled back because, again, we are kind of in similar environments. And not to go too far into it, it was more of just like we became friends and oh gosh, I hate saying this even out loud, but we're going to lean in because we're on the podcast on our tell the truth, but like a physical side of things. And we had a very transparent conversation that both of us had missed intimacy. And like, I quite literally said, I'll vulnerably say this and it's going to make me want to throw up saying it on the mic, but missed being in the arms of a man I really care about. Those words verbatim. And he understood. He's like, yes, I understand. Like, we had this very transparent, vulnerable conversation. And any entrepreneur or business person or busy whatever knows it's pretty hard to make time for dating and relationships and everything in general when your world is moving 100 miles an hour. And I'll be the first to say, if you want that to be a priority, you need to make time. It's still really hard for me to do that, especially right now when things are starting to move in the best way. And I do oftentimes, I have to admit, choose my work and my passion and my purpose over some of these other opportunities. So this was a really transparent conversation that I was okay with, but there was also like, I'm very conscious of my health and my safety and other people too, of like, if we're spending time together, not even just physical, but like intimacy, if someone else enters into the game, like both need to be honest with each other. And that was agreed upon. It was brought up many times. So as time went on, I saw again, more red flags. The game didn't change and promises and, broken plans and like all this stuff. And it was starting to like actually make me crazy. And I would consider myself a really grounded person. I don't put up with a lot of bullshit, especially in my business or when it comes to like my community of people I care about. Long story short, I had seen a couple things like right in front of me, like flirting with other females, and he hides his phone and like all the shit, that's like a red flag. And it just accumulated to like, this just needs to be done. And so it was done. And then of course it circles back again. Nothing, we never really started dating or anything after that. But we stayed friends, and I think, in all the mess of it, we really did care. I'll say I cared. I just can speak for myself in all of this. But the kicker is I recently found out that not only was this human having many versions of me, there was many women on the side, there might even have been a wife involved. And I don't have hard proof of anything. And I'm not giving this conversation to talk about calling out this person or making them feel bad or sharing the tea or anything like that. I always believe that universe will unpack that for me. Anything you put out that's negative, universe will take care of you. I don't need to do anything. My point literally of talking about this is that for all my people out there, like, God, how this happened to me, I'm with you. I exactly said that. And I truly just want you to know that you're not alone and to give yourself some grace. And I consider myself smart, aware, educated. I'm certainly, a superior blonde with my blonde moments at time, but I'm fallible. And I think my gut knew from the get-go. And did I listen? No. So it's a very human moment for me, and an ego check to say, like, girl or guy out there, but my girls I'm sure are doing this too. It's not just you. And I give you grace from here if you fell for it, because I did. And I'm so glad nothing got too complicated. Obviously, no kids or marriage or anything on that level. Or even saying boyfriend, girlfriend, but it was enough for like emotion to be involved. And now I'm involved with someone that's seriously involved, whatever that actual label is. And that's something I am very sensitive to. My energy, my capacity, not from a righteous standpoint, but how I operate, move in the world. Honesty is my top core value, and I don't do well with shady behavior. And I said a lot of these words. If you know me, and if I see something, I'm going to say something, and I called a lot of shit out, but it didn't really work. Or he was good enough to get right around it. I even had intuitive say, like, this is not a good situation. This dude is good at what he does. You need to get out. And like, I was pulling runes, if you know those, like those were saying things you need to get out. People around me were like, this dude is not cool. So, but I guess, when you care, you care. And like, usually when it's good, it's really good. And then when it's bad, it's really bad. These are like the most freaking cliche things you hear. And so as I'm saying that, 45 like blows my mind. And this is going to be a rough podcast for me to release because it is such an ego check, and it like just makes me want to like just crawl in a hole and be like, really, girl? Like, what? So, I don't know. It happened. And finding out that news today, I was like, shit, I got to talk about this, because I am not cool with shady relationships, because I think people underestimate how many other humans your relationship impacts. And this has been a trigger for me my entire life, because I'm a product of divorce and, having parents dating, or, brothers dating other women or whatever. That's fine. But you got to understand, when you bring someone around, myself included, that energy, that relationship, those people, especially if you procreate and have families, are now part of your orbit and impact the other people in your reality. So to me, it's a very, very big deal. So to know that even potentially, like if that rumor is not true, fine. But the fact, that it's even remotely believable is a massive red flag, and enough for me to, cringe and want to crawl in a hole. But two, knowing that like my actions unknowingly could have impacted like another family or another woman, that is horrifying to me. And that is every value I absolutely stand against. You can call me and accuse me probably of a few things, but cheating and being dishonest, particularly in relationships, personally or professionally or athletically, is not my thing. And that is a value I will stand on, true and true. That is just something I do not dabble in. So it's wild how you can, again, try and do the right things while a fallible human, but still find yourself in situations that are absolutely, authentically, unequivocally not you and outside of your core values. So I extend grace to all my people that have found themselves in it. I do not judge you if you've been in a situation like this. Even if you knew about it, I think we're humans, and our heart and our emotion can be a slippery slope. And it is that conscious awareness of stepping back and being like, okay, what am I really doing? And what is the cost benefit analysis? What is me denying all the intel around me, staying in it, versus me listening to the intel and getting out of it? Like, what is it really costing me? And this situation has messed with a couple of my friendships, which I hate to admit. It's becoming a space that I value on my daily, which I'm not okay with. So it's all the way around. It's just really not an okay thing. And I've learned a very deep lesson. And to be honest, I don't regret one piece of it, because this situation, while messy and however it was labeled, I probably cared about this person more than I did most of my other relationships. And that's even kind of rough to admit out loud, because I was not getting, there was minimal reciprocity. And as a strong, confident female, I think I had weaknesses. I know I had weaknesses and insecurities. And I had to unpack attachment. I was anxiously attached, which is not really my vibe. And just insecurities. And even like, you feel fireworks, you think that's like love, or you care about someone. Really, it's like your nervous system attaching on to familiarity from something you grew up with. And there was very similar things and energies and actions of things that were from my childhood environment that I think just resonated. So I'm not going to go too far in the science of these things, but if you're in a situation and you're like, God, I feel like I care about this person, but something's off, start digging into attachments and anxious attachment theory, what attachments are, avoidance, understand what that is, narcissists, understand what that is, twin flames, understand what that is. And through all of that, it's not about learning about them or showing up a different way of or fixing a relationship. It's about learning about yourself. So when you are in the right position with the right person, you really do come correct. And you not only get to know 100% of them, but you know 100% of you. So I'm so thankful that this messy shit pile dug out all these other sides of me that I didn't know at 45 that I could truthfully unpack and get connected with and show up as a different person for the right person. So thank you to this. I'm going to say it, slime bag. And I appreciate the learnings and what it is. And I actually have no hate. I wish this human and anyone involved a path of healing and forgiveness and getting to the next level. I'm kind of tired of being like the grounded, nice person, which I am not all the time. But this podcast in itself is even kind of a hot take and something I normally wouldn't do, because it is a little bit cally outy and like it's just not a thing. But I do think it just needs to be brought to light. And maybe I'll regret that down the road. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I just feel like the truth needs to be told. And most importantly, all my humans that are in this or can resonate, you're not alone. Forgive yourself, learn from it, and let's all do better next time. I do want to give a quick read on what a narcissist is and what to do if you think that's in your life, relationship coach, person you care about, friendship, whatever it is, be aware, because narcissists are a thing. A narcissist is someone who shows a persistent pattern of excess self-focus, an inflated sense of importance, a lack of empathy for others. That's a key one at the end. It's important to distinguish between someone who has narcissistic traits, which many people have at times, #athletes, and someone with narcissistic personality disorder, which is a diagnosable mental health condition. Most difficult or selfish partners do not have NPD. Here are some common signs you may be dating someone with strong narcissistic traits. They charm you intensely at first, in quotes, love bombing, making you feel like you've met your soulmates. Pause there. They constantly seek admiration, attention, or validation. In this situation, the insecurity was tangible. And I'll be the first to admit, again, I have my own insecurities around things. This was like, I did feel his on a tangible level. And again, this was partially some things I learned in childhood that were reminiscent. And I saw myself flip into managing that right away. They struggle to genuinely empathize with your feelings or experiences. They rarely take responsibility and often blame others. They become defensive or angry when criticized, or even gently. They manipulate through guilt, gaslighting, or making you question your own reality. This person literally used examples of car accidents, car getting broken into, going to the hospital. Like anytime there was a problem, he flipped it into like some catastrophic thing happening. And at some point I noticed, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of bad things that are pretty serious happening all the time. Every time we're in an argument, like massive red flag. And I actually did say some things like, you slither, I see how you maneuver, I don't believe you. Yeah, that and words are great, but you need to just walk away. Anyways, continue with the list. They expect special treatment and feel entitled. Your needs consistently come second to theirs. They alternate between idolizing you and criticizing or devaluing you. That was a tricky one, because there was very specific things that this person knew how to show up and support that mattered to me. And then on the flip side would do a daily like little nitpick at stuff that was kind of funny, but not. And on the flip side, I would never make fun of him. I'm not saying I'm perfect or I showed up right, because I would have done a lot of things different. But this, as I read this list, I was like, oh, okay, check. Many people in relationships notice changes in themselves over time, such as walking on eggshells, feeling anxious before bringing up concerns, constantly questioning whether you're too sensitive, feeling emotionally exhausted, check, losing confidence, or becoming isolated from friends and family. If you think you're dating someone like this, here are some healthy steps to take. 1, trust patterns, not promises. Big one. Pay attention to consistent behaviors over time rather than apologies or grand gestures after conflict. Set clear boundaries. Healthy partners may not always like boundaries, but they generally respect them. Someone with strong narcissistic traits may repeatedly ignore or punish you for having them. 3, maintain your support system. Stay connected with trusted friends and family instead of becoming isolated. 4, document your experiences. If you're frequently being told events didn't happen the way you remember, write things down and writing things down can help you stay grounded. I kept a journal and this was a saving grace. 5, consider counseling. An individual therapist can help you sort out what's happening and strengthen your boundaries. Couples therapy is generally most helpful when both partners genuinely want to change and take responsibility for their actions. 6, think about your safety. If emotional abuse escalates to threats, intimidation, or physical violence, prioritize your safety and seek support. A few myths are worth clearing up. Not everyone who is confident, successful, or self-centered is a narcissist. Again, successful athlete, my humans. Balance there. People can have narcissistic behaviors without having NPD. Lasting change is possible for some people, but only if they recognize the problem and consistently work on it. You cannot change someone who doesn't believe they need to change. A useful question to ask yourself is, how do I consistently feel after spending time with this person? That is so huge. All of your intel is right there. A healthy relationship generally leaves you feeling respected, emotionally safe, and free to be yourself, even when you disagree. If you consistently feel diminished, confused, anxious, or you're never enough, that's worth taking serious regard of whether your partner meets the definition of narcissism. If you're asking questions of someone specific, tell me what's happening. I can help you sort through the behaviors of seeing without jumping to conclusions or labeling the person prematurely. This is all from ChatGPT, so take it or leave it. I think these are really great starting tools. My whole goal is, again, to let you know that here I am at 45 talking about this. I got and I knew it. You're not alone. Give yourself some grace. And these topics that I touched on, as far as self-growth, attachment, anxiousness, anxiety, narcissism, go do a deep dive. If you're feeling this type of way in a relationship, it's probably not the situation you need to be in, but you've got to figure that out for yourself and make a change. And just like this said, you're never going to change anyone. The only thing you do is be responsible for yourself and take care of yourself. And if it's impacting your world, your mental health, your friends, your family, please consider a better way. We'll leave it right there. I could go on, but I just want to wrap it up right there as a vulnerable moment. I don't know if this is a good, messy, what kind of podcast, but it is my truth right now. So there we are. I want to give you a thank you to our sponsors, Colorado Clownfish Swim School, swim lessons, and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports, so go waterproof your family today. Products you can trust, delivering results you can feel. The Plantiva. It's rooted in science and works like magic. Go check them out at plantiva.com. This will be wherever you get your podcast, and the video will be on YouTube. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Keep varsity humans in your heart and around your world, and everything will shake out from there. I do believe if you're making the right moves, all lessons are worth it, and we are on path, even when it rips your heart out, because it's preparing us for the next big thing. So God bless. Stay strong, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.